jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back
Konbanwa, genki desu ka? Welcome to WCS in 2023. You already know, those of you that's rocking out early this morning, hey, big salute to y'all, man. We're in a whole nother year. First day of the year, second PC of the day. You already know. I had to come in a little bit different. I had to talk about the Bellator MMA versus RIZIN. Yes, sir. It went down. Mixed martial arts inside a boxing ring. And this is part of the way I grew up overseas when I was introduced to this type in ring. You know, the rules are different over there. That's what I liked about it. It gave me an opportunity to see combat in a different light, different rule setting. You know, while the UFC was getting freaking started, you know, Japan was already, you know, full-pledged in this whole, you know, policy thing with the way their rules are. Much more tougher rules over there. I mean, a lot of Americans was over there, and they liked it because of the lack of rules. And also their environment and atmosphere is just a whole lot different. But first of all, let me give a big shout out to the first in the building, Big Blunts and Boxing on deck. What's good with it, Blunts? Combat, what's good with it? Yeah. Only certain people gonna rock with the title. I mean, rock with the topic. It's okay because, you know, I do boxing and mixed martial arts. That's just what it is. It's not going anywhere, y'all. Y'all have to understand. So let's talk about RIZIN, man. RIZIN been around for a minute, but you know the style of the Japanese fighting. This is just the organization, but the style and the format for which RIZIN has been around for quite some time. You know, you had the Pride days back there, the Glory days. You know what I'm saying? They pretty much fall beneath that umbrella of the former Pride Fighting Championship and Dream Stage Entertainment. You know, the president is Nobuyuki Sakibara. And you know, I love it. You know, going to fights over in Japan is much more theatrical. They just do things a lot different than over here. You know what I'm saying? They allow fighters to wear costumes to the ring, almost like WWE, but these are real, legitimate, professional combat specialists. But they allow them to wear, you know, these costumes to the fight. Unlike the UFC, and I don't see Bellator doing it too much. You know what I'm saying? But over in Japan, I just like how the whole setup is. So they decided to put on a fight card, right? They decided to put on a fight card this New Year's Eve. A lot of people didn't know about it. You know what I'm saying? But it was December 31st, 2022 at the Saitama Super Arena, Saitama, Japan. It was RIZIN 40, Bellator MMA versus RIZIN. And it turned out to be pretty good. The fight card was okay. You have to really pay attention to the fight card to kind of know what fighter you wanted to root for. Let me go through what I put in the chat. All right, I put the fight card in the chat for those of you that want to kind of see it. But the main card is all I was concerned about. The first fight that was on the card was Gadzhi Rabadanov facing Koji Takeda. And the next fight was Juan Archuleta. You know him from Bellator, bantamweight division, I believe. He defeated Soo Chul Kim. And then the next fight on the card was Kyoji Horiguchi fighting Hiromasa Ougikubo. And then next co-main event was Patricio Freire defeating Kleber Koike. And then in the main event was McKee defeating Roberto de Souza. The one thing, the two fights people was really looking forward to be honest, was pretty much, let me not do them like this. Let me just go through the fight card and give you a little understanding of who was fighting, what, when, and how. Because people feel some type of way when you neglect certain fighters, right? But Gadzhi Rabadanov is a Dagestanian fighter. You know what I'm saying? If you know Dagestanian, you hear about Khabib the Magomedov. And this is a lightweight bout. Lightweight is considered 155 pounds. You know what I'm saying? He went in there against Koji Takeda. And really, Gadzhi had a lot riding on his wrestling. They like to do sambo a lot over there. Koji was pretty much, from my understanding, a switch hitter, which really don't mean anything in mixed martial arts. But he was a switch hitter. And the fight ended up being okay. It wasn't really something I was looking forward to. But I'm just going through the main card. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm doing. I'm not going to go too in depth about the fight card itself, because a lot of these fighters fighting over in Japan, you know what I'm saying, a lot of people don't know. That don't mean I don't have to talk about them, but I'm just saying they don't know. The next fight is Soo Chul Kim against Juan Archuleta. If you don't remember, Juan Archuleta had a very good fight against Sergio Pettis. What I know about Archuleta is pretty much, in that fight, his boxing looked good. He had a great stand-up, solid striking game, but he's easily be taken down. And his mat time on his back needs to improve. He needs to work, on his mat defense, working from the bottom and working back up to his feet, against guys who's willing to test him and go in for the double or the single and take him down. And he spends a lot of time fighting off his back. Soo Chul Kim, you know what I'm saying? It was nothing special with this guy. This was supposed to be Bellator versus RIZIN best. And Bellator ran a 5-0 gauntlet on them. You know what I'm saying? That's what I be trying to explain to people. Like, Bellator ran a 5-0 gauntlet on the RIZIN fighters, and it was supposed to be the best fight, the best. So it wasn't like you would think. You would think very competitive fights. You know what I'm saying? And what's crazy about it, Juan Archuleta is not really considered the best bantamweight. But selectively, they chose these fighters to go over there for this New Year's Eve card. Hey, it was what it was, man. It was what it was. The card was okay. I'm not going to lie to you. The card was okay. Hold on for a second. All right. So let's go to the next one. The next one was Kyoji Horiguchi. He was representing Bellator, right? Japanese fighter. He went in there against Hiromasa Ougikubo. Now, the crazy part about this is that Kyoji is a Japanese fighter. I'm just curious to know why he wasn't representing Japan, being the RIZIN is based out of Japan. That was kind of funny. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. He might have had resident over in the U.S. and Japan say, hey, you're not going to represent us. You've been over there for the longest of time, and we haven't stamped your passport in years. I don't know what they was doing, but he was representing Bellator. And very active fighter, Kyoji, very active fighter. Loved to go in for the takedowns. Loved taking it to the ground. And Hiromasa, like I said, some of these fighters was mismatched. It's not so much the record, but it's just so much the experience level when it comes to who they fought in their career, what organizations have they competed in for a long period of time. And this fight was okay. Well, like I said before, Bellator won a 5-0 gauntlet, and Kyoji Horiguchi ended up getting a win between these two. I mean, most of these fights, as you look down in the details, most of these fights went the distance. You know what I'm saying? Most of these fights went to a decision. And another thing I seen on this was that it wasn't really 5-round fights for a New Year card. Like, give us some 5-round fights, man, so we can kind of see if some submissions. This was inside a boxing ring, okay? Inside a square circle, whatever. I want to say a boxing ring, a square circle, because over in Japan they have mixed martial arts fights like this all the time inside the square circle. That means the quadrant is roped off. That's the way Pride was. I mean, that's kind of how I grew up, seeing these fights inside a square circle with ropes. A little bit different rules, man. Real talk. But I like it. I love it over there. I love the rule setting. Much more vicious, much more damage can be inflicted to your opponent, especially in the down position. Soccer kicks to the head is allowed. You didn't see it too much last night, but knees to a downed opponent. If you're down on the ground, somebody want to knee you in the head, yeah, you can get kneed in the head. If you want to stand up and your opponent's still on his back, you can kick him in the head just like you was playing FIFA. Just like you was trying out for FIFA, goddammit. Kleber Koike against Patricio Freire. Everybody know the Patricio brothers. The Pitbull brothers. Everybody know them from Bellator. Champions. Have some very memorable fights with some of the best names in mixed martial arts. And to see Patricio over here. To see Patricio over here doesn't surprise me. You know what I'm saying? Of course they had to bring a Patricio brother over here. But the one thing about it, he went the distance with a guy that obviously has BJJ foundation. That's one of his stronger disciplines of his skill set. And sometimes it gets to a point where if you have a guy that specializes in BJJ or more so grappling, a person like Patricio, they don't want to play around on the ground with the guy. You know what I'm saying? They trying to come in there and knock him out. The Pitbull brothers is known that they don't have dynamite and put people to sleep. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they scatter the ground. They submitted people too. But when you go in there with a BJJ or grappling specialist, you really don't want to play around with him. And, just a 3-round fight, get taken down and spend most of the round getting off your back. So that was a co-main event. Patricio, he ended up getting a victory. And like I said before, you'll see these guys with 5 losses, 10 losses, 15 losses, but it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because in mixed martial arts, they don't care about that type of shit. You got guys over there with 15 losses who they consider legends because they've been in there with some of the best names, win or lose. Seriously. Tony Boswell, what's good? Much respect at World Combat Sports in the chat. Stopped in to show support. And Happy New Year. Happy New Year to your brother. Happy New Year to you, Two Blunts. Appreciate y'all for pulling up as always. Salute to you. Treehouse on deck. Happy 23 WCS chat fam, no doubt about it. Happy New Year's to you too, brother. Hope y'all families are doing well this day. And then, of course, the main event is what we all wanted to see. You know, AJ McKee, a lot of y'all didn't grow up off his dad fighting, but I did. His dad wasn't as exciting as he would. You know, not many fathers can produce a seed that can go in there and emulate equal to better than what they were competing. AJ McKee is a rare anomaly. You know, he's one of those guys who his dad was one of the top fighters back in the day, did a lot of wrestling, very much specialized in wrestling. And, you know, his son has grown in the sport the hard way. You know, his dad always pushed him. He talks about that, how his dad always pushed him. Father-son tandem, they survived so far, but AJ McKee is very, very talented. Like, he even had his own submission. You know what I'm saying? The front side choke, he even applied different. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't even wrap up the head. He basically does like an over-under. You know what I'm saying? An over-under choke with the head beneath his armpit and his right arm beneath his opponent's left armpit, and then he lock up the choke underneath, almost similar to a guillotine. But you know, but a guillotine, you definitely have a choke around the neck area. This is partially around the neck, but he runs the hand on the outside, under the armpit, across the neck, and lock it up on the other side with his left hand, which is pretty creative, man. But he only has one loss in his career, and champion, of course. He went in there against Roberto de Souza, another guy who's a BJJ specialist. The fight itself spent most, you know, I'll say most of the first round. You know, AJ did pretty decent. But there was a point in time where Souza did take him to the ground. He put the body lock on him. At a point, it seemed like that, you know, he was trying to lock in some chokes. But at that point in time, from the back position, fighters start to sweat. It's hard to freaking, you know, keep a choke locked in, especially if they can put the chin down in the crease of the arm. And AJ McKee is very well versed in defense, you know, of anything when it comes to the ground game. His dad specialized in that. He's very well versed, man. You know, there's not too many people that caught this man in a choke. But De Souza was able to gain control, back control, and he attempted to. You know, he had a body lock and everything, but AJ defended very, very well and was able to reverse, slip out the back door, stand it up, and then work on his striking. So we can say, even with the takedown in the second round, AJ won the first two rounds. I mean, not to mention the punches that he landed on this guy. And then even when he was on the ground and Souza had a body lock on him, he was still punching from that position. But in the third round, though, you know, De Souza had some success once again, slipping around to his back, gaining control, hopping up, putting a body lock on, and basically trying to sink in a rear naked choke. The only thing about it is that, you know, once again, with experience, especially from a defensive standpoint, AJ McKee was able to defend very, very well. And this was in the vertical position. Souza was hanging off his back in the vertical position. And it does weigh heavy on your legs. You got to have condition for that. But it was in the standing position where he was trying to lock in a choke. AJ defended very, very well. And we can give that round to De Souza. But the first two rounds, you know, with the escape and with the stand-up striking, AJ did enough to win the fight and was presented the overall trophy, you know what I'm saying, in the main event. So Bellator pretty much swept through, which was embarrassing, to say the least, for Japan and RIZIN, that the fighters that you selected, neither one of them could pretty much get a win. And this wasn't the best fighters out of Bellator. It wasn't. it wasn't the best fighters out of Bellator, but hey, that's what I try to tell people. Like somebody tried to get mad because I say I wanted to see what not different, fighters that's not ordinarily competing in such a light division. So it was what it was, man. You know, the fight card was okay. It wasn't a heavy lineup, but if you kind of knew the fighters and their travels in mixed martial arts, then maybe you follow BJJ. Then you might have said, okay, this is gonna be interesting. You know what I'm saying? You got De Souza facing AJ McKee. Let's see how AJ does against a high level grappler like De Souza. And see what they're talking about. But AJ is pretty much well-rounded. He's way better than his pops. I'll tell you that. I know his pops is happy seeing him competing in freaking mixed martial arts the way he does and how well-rounded he is. He's almost like the total package. It's going to come a point in time where I want to see if the UFC is ever going to call this guy up. You know what I'm saying? I want to see if the UFC is ever going to call AJ McKee up to compete in the lightweight division, because it'll shake it up right now. You know what I'm saying? It'll shake it up. Real talk. You have Islam over there as the champion. He just went in there and subbed out Charles Oliveira. It'll be a good time to see if they ever gonna try to bring AJ McKee over there to compete at 155 in the UFC. I'm curious, because I think when you got fighters in Bellator, they love the money. They say they get paid very well over there. You know what I'm saying? So I like the Bellator MMA versus RIZIN cross-threading of promotions and everything. I like that. You just won't see it with UFC Bellator. You know what I'm saying? You won't see it. I don't think, Dana White doesn't entertain, fight cards like this. Scott Coker, the one that's in charge of Bellator, he does what he wants. He's not trying to sit up here and play second fiddle to the UFC. He's trying to grow his organization, promotion, just like everybody else. But it'd be cool if they had a Bellator versus UFC fight card. And they probably will in the future, way in the future. But until then, we're going to see fights like this, which allows fighters to fight in Japan, and they're allowed to execute certain strikes that's not allowed in the U.S., like Demetrius Johnson, for instance, right? At one championship. Demetrius Johnson had 11 title defenses, and he was traded for Ben Askren. And he went over there and ended up becoming champion. He's the flyweight champion over in the UFC for quite some time, one of the legends to ever do it, one of the GOATs. When he went over there and earned the championship, they put him in there with a, I forgot his opponent name. He suffered a defeat. It's not like Demetrius didn't have a defeat over in the UFC. Dominique Cruz defeated Demetrius Johnson over here at 135, and then they opened up the 125 division. And he reigned for quite some time until he was defeated by Henry Cejudo. So when he left for a trade for Ben Askren, he ended up becoming champion, and I think he defended the belt a couple of times, and then he lost it, and then he rematched the guy and knocked him out the same way that he lost his belt, via knee. And you can knee a grounded opponent. You know what I'm saying? You can land knees while your opponent is laying on the ground. You can land a knee to their face, head. It don't fucking matter. If they got their right hand on the ground You know what I'm saying? That knee on the ground, you can walk up to them and think you're trying to score a penalty kick for Argentina. That's the way they do it over there, bro. Don on deck, what's good? Salute, AJ. It's definitely the goods. Yeah, AJ, he's serious, man. I'm just curious they ever going to allow him over into the UFC. Real talk. You know what I'm saying? I'm just curious if he'll ever take that step over. Pop on deck. Salute to you, Pop. That's just me. You know what I'm saying? But Dana White does what Dana White does. Who we might see as a big star, he may not. But I think AJ McKee all around is proven. There's nobody's gonna say that he's unworthy of crossing over to the UFC to that stage. But I'm gonna tell you, the UFC has 55 pounders that are considered great. Seriously, they consider great. Look at Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler, once again, I'm not saying he didn't have a loss before he crossed over, but his competition over here is very much better than the competition that he had in Bellator on a regular basis. Seriously. I mean, much more tougher competition. And that's gonna be the same thing for AJ McKee. You know what I'm saying? But it would be good to see him. You remember when Diego Lima, his brother was champion, right? And people was putting him up there saying he need to fight Kamaru Usman. You remember when they was talking about that? So let me get back to Michael Chandler right quick. Michael Chandler came over to the UFC, of course, after defeating Benson Henderson. And he knocked out Dan Hooker, who was an up-and-comer. But then when they put him in there with Charles Oliveira, he lost via ground and pound. You know what I'm saying? And then several months later, they put him in there with Justin Gaethje, a fighter who came over from the World Series of Fighting. He put him in there together. Boom, he lost that. Gaethje got those hands, man. And freaking Chandler's more so of a wrestler. He has stand-up game. He can punch, right? But I'm just saying, like, Justin Gaethje has more of a better stand-up striking game than Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler blends his freaking striking discipline with wrestling too. I'm just surprised he hasn't worked on his submission game more than he has. But after losing Justin Gaethje, the very next semester in 22, they put him in there with Tony Ferguson. That's off 2 losses. They put him in there with another heavy hitter. He won that. Front kick to the face in round 2. They put him in there with a freaking for a title eliminator, right? For a title eliminator with Dustin Poirier, and he lost via rear naked choke. But I'm not gonna sit here and complain about the way they have this set up. I like how the UFC do business. I like how if they choose for you to come over, they don't give you they don't give you easy fights. You know what I'm saying? But as I was saying about the Lima brothers, when Douglas Lima was the champion, the welterweight champion, many people was talking about him crossing over and fighting Kamaru Usman when they was both active, reigning, defending. But it never happened. All the photos was out there and all this shit. One time they had a face-off. It was Douglas Lima and Kamaru Usman. People say, God damn, that'd be a good fight. And Lima's known for having some of the most lethal kicks in mixed martial arts. Comparing that to Kamaru Usman's wrestling, high-level wrestling, and now his boxing skills, that would have been great. Both of them match up very, very well. But, Douglas Lima ended up losing his belt, just like Kamaru Usman. So that's out the question. And then you're talking about Douglas Lima winning he won the welterweight Grand Prix, which the prize was $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So they have a school down here. I've been up to their school several times. They have a school down here, man. Very nice guys. You know, him and his brother Douglas Lima and Diego Lima. Very good people, bro. Very nice gym down here too, man. Mixed martial arts gym. School. But yeah. Well, that card was already December 31st, New Year's Eve. It was already passed. Mighty Mouse is a nice guy, classy individual in the sport. They need more like him. Yeah, they definitely need a lot more like him because he's extremely talented, and he's one of my top 5 fighters in the world that I like, boxing or MMA. Like Demetrius Johnson is crazy talented for his size, and his freaking cage IQ. It's just amazing. People don't give him all that love because he ain't a shit talker. Outside of the cage, he's playing video. He's a high-level gamer, so he's playing video games and all that. But he's a legend for sure. You know what I'm saying? Demetrius Johnson is a legitimate bona fide legend, man. He broke Anderson Silva record for title defenses in the UFC. I mean, he is a legitimate legend. Real talk. I mean, you can't win forever. You can't win forever. But when he lost his title to Henry Cejudo, you know, the plot was that Dana White was trying to shut down the 125-pound division. I told you all this before. Dana White was trying to do away with the 125-pound division because he didn't see it was necessary. And rumor mill was that they was trying to possibly bring in an atom weight or something like that. What that is putting a division between 155 and 170 because there's a gap there. You know what I'm saying? It's a gap between 155 and 170. So they was thinking about putting a division in between that. I believe the division was going to be 160, 165, something like that. That was just a rumor mill because it never happened. But anyway, they was trying to say, okay, Henry Cejudo, we're going to put you up against T.J. Dillashaw at 135. And, you know, y'all going to fight it out for the belts. And Henry Cejudo freaking negotiated himself out of a freaking A-side. You know what I'm saying? They say, you want too much money. You dealing with the wrong people. So that's when they went to T.J. Dillashaw and say, hey, how tough will it be for you to go down there and whoop Henry Cejudo? Because we're really trying to get rid of the 125-pound division. They just didn't tell nobody. But they gave the A-side to freaking T.J. Dillashaw to fight at 125. T.J. said, I can do it because he was juicing. I can get down to that. I'm on EPO and everything else. I'm good. I get down there. So T.J. Dillashaw goes down there and fight Henry Cejudo, Olympic wrestler, gold medalist. Now the flyweight, current reigning defending flyweight world champion, who initially when he stepped in there with Demetrius Johnson, he lost. He goes in there and knocks out T.J. Dillashaw in 1 round. And like I said before, that wasn't even the hurt. That wasn't even the damage. That was only a little part of it. T.J. Dillashaw gets knocked out. Then he gets suspended for doping. He came back dirty. And he loses his title to Henry Cejudo. So Henry Cejudo calls himself Triple C. He's an Olympic gold medalist, 125-pound flyweight champion, and 135 bantamweight world champion. They put both of the titles on the line. They put the 125-pound title on the line and the 135-pound title on the line. Whoever won, get the other person's title. And Cejudo won. So he became champ. He wasn't the first to become champ, but he was one of the elite that was able to become champ, just like the Daniel Cormiers, the freaking Conor McGregor, who did it first, Amanda Nunes, you know, people like that becoming champs. So shout out to them guys, man. Shout out to them. Just a little breakdown to the breakdown. But shout out to RIZIN, Bellator, very solid fight card, man. You know something that tripped me out though? Speaking of boxing, right? It's funny how Michaela Mayer is basically talking about lightweight now. You know what I'm saying? She ain't trying to run it back with Alicia Baumgardner just yet. It's crazy. Like when Alicia Baumgardner knocked out Terry Harper, I was still the jury wasn't, it was still out on Baumgardner. I knew she had talent, but I didn't look at Terry Harper as anything special, even though she ended up getting another title after she lost that one. But Baumgardner, the way she was in there fighting Mayer, I was like, damn, Baumgardner, she's the truth, man. I was like, I see some Tony Harrison, her trainer. I see some of that in her, right? Mayer is running away from that demon. She shouldn't run away from the demon, man. She should have went back to the demon. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're freaking one of your trainers is Al Mitchell, man. Like, you have a legend in your corner. You should go back into the lab, train harder, and try to fight Alicia Baumgardner again in a rematch. But you moving up the way you are to a higher division, it may not be suitable. It may not be easy pickings like you think. You know what I'm saying? What you see as the appetizer may not be it. For real. She's salty. She's salty, man. Like, anybody come even close, media-wise, to try to get an interview, she ain't trying to talk to nobody. She ain't trying to goddamn talk about nothing. That's just not the way you do it. Talk about it. Get it off your chest, man. You walking around there, you don't want to talk to media about the Baumgardner loss. That's boxing, Mayor. You know what? She lost. She pretty much lost me as a fan, for real. Like, she has lost me as even having any type of fanism with her, because she was just turning down everybody. She only talked to certain people, but she just act like she don't want to talk to the certain media that's gonna ask about that fight. We definitely want to ask about it. You was the one that was competing in there. Yeah, we're gonna ask about it, but she don't want to talk about it, man. She don't want to talk about it. Let's get to Errol Spence Jr. though. Errol Spence Jr. has been on record as saying he don't want tune-ups, right? You know what I'm saying? I remember him saying that. But yet, there's no manifesto that's been out for 2023, being that we in that year now, as of yet, that he's going to not take a tune-up. You know what I'm saying? Because anybody outside of Crawford would be a tune-up. It'll be simply nobody that we want to see other than the name Crawford. There's no information that has hit the airwaves yet. There's no confirmation. There's no breaking news, no announcements, none of that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just hoping that, in reality, in the next 30 days, it's not anybody that's lower than what we expected in Keith Thurman. We don't want to see Errol Spence stepping there with anybody lower than Keith Thurman. But it's a possibility, based off his actions and how he's been moving, that it may be a disappointment. You know what I'm saying? They always talking about the tomato can, the taxi cab drivers, Lyft drivers, Ubers, and all that. We just hope it's not a name lower than the respect level when it comes to Keith Thurman, former unified champion. He said he don't take tune-up fights, but it would be good to kind of get him into the picture in the boxing media to say, okay, this is who he's fighting. It's out now. I don't care who release it. Coppinger, Ida, whatever. This is the fight, he's going to be fighting, whether it be at 47 or 54. We're just trying to see what we have to look forward to in the forecast. Tell us. It's a whole nother year. We want to know. I'm not going to spend too much time on this shit because it's a new year and I'm not trying to bring old baggage over here into the new year. So we're not going to just talk about what happened back then like certain people and continue to be driven and depressed about what they wasn't able to get, knowing damn well they wasn't gonna get anything. Look, I don't know what to tell these people. Like, they're psychologically dilapidated in a lot of ways. They hell bent trying to talk about Terrence Crawford leaving the fight, but the fight wasn't gonna be in 22. If the fight would have been in 23 and Crawford wouldn't have fought, they still would have been saying the same derogatory stuff. So let's just wait and see what happened in the next 30 days since we are already here. And then we can talk about it. That's all. We can talk about this shit. But I'm gonna tell you, truth be told, the lightweight division is hopping up real nice. We just need to see the fight dates is coming up in 23. I believe a lot of these names that we see in the lightweight division, they're gonna have some type of dance sooner or later. You know what I'm saying? Just like 40. You know who I want to see up there at 40? I want to see Regis and possibly Teofimo. Yeah, definitely. I want to see the best. I want to see the Antoine Russells. You know what I'm saying? Gary Antoine Russells. I want to see that. It's a lot that's going on at 140. Subriel Matias is going to be stepping in there real soon. He probably going to be a world champion. So the belts is going to be parked in different garages, man, of sanctioning bodies. Definitely. And I appreciate Josh Taylor coming off those belts. I do. I appreciate it. It's good to see. So that's gonna be a two divisions that I'm looking forward to. You know what I'm saying? 35 and 40. Now, the light heavyweight division, of course, we that's possible for that unification. But I think a big fight that we're looking forward to, if it does happen, is going to be at the super bantamweight division. If the bantamweight undisputed in a way gets on deck to fight freaking Cool Boy Steph, people are going to be tuned into that. They have to, because this guy's been in the top 3 pound for pound for a long time in a way. Cool Boy Steph hasn't. So it's going to be one of his biggest fights to defend his unified titles at super bantamweight against an undisputed champion that's moving up from bantamweight. That's going to be great. That's going to be great, bro. That's going to be great. Super, super great. And then the last topic, Gervonta Davis, man, the fight is still going on. Watch All Access. We look forward to the Hector Garcia bout. This is going to be competitive. It should be more competitive than what people think. You feel me? It's not like he ain't went the distance before, and I'm not saying this is going the distance. It's just Garcia's shown that he can box. He took the freaking Chris Colbert fight on 19 days notice. He can box. He's solid. He's legitimate. You know what I'm saying? But as I always say, when you speak of a tank, a armored vehicle, the ammunition is different. The ammunition is motherfucking different. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying the ammunition is different when it comes from a tank. You can have a goddamn 12 gauge shotgun, all that. When a tank fires off, it does mass damage, casualties. So this is gonna be a pretty. I'm just trying to find out what game plan they're gonna come out with. They seen the Rolly Romero fight. Are they gonna try to press him? Are they going to try to use the same mentality that Rolly and Leo Santa Cruz attempted to use? Are they going to use the same mentality as Isak Cruz attempted to do? Just say, okay, force Tank the back off, box off the back foot. He's much more ineffective when he's doing that. Instead of allow him to dictate the pace and set up his own shots. I think what they're trying to say about Tank is, if you don't allow him to get into a rhythm, box at his own cadence, he pretty much, it's going to take him longer, or they're going to make it more difficult for him to land them power shots. That's not the case, dog. Just ask Rolly Romero, man. Just ask Rolly Romero. He ran into that motherfucker like it was a damn FedEx package. Sign right here, please. Bing! I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Fulton gonna beat him. Yeah, I'm going for Cool Boy Steph, no doubt, man. I'm going for Cool Boy Steph, no doubt about it. I'm going for Cool Boy Steph, no doubt about it, man. But yeah. Well, y'all don't forget y'all got that Caleb Plant David Benavidez fight. You know what I'm saying? But truth be told, man, it's a lot of chatter that Teofimo Lopez and Regis Progress might fight real soon. They trying to make that fight. That's gonna be a good fight. That's gonna be a good test. I promise you all, Teofimo Lopez is not gonna look the way he did against Sandor Martin. He was playing, man. I'm telling you, that dude is a master manipulator when it comes to playing with the fans, man. Serious. They can say what they want about the, oh man, he ain't all there. I mean, they say to compete in boxing, you got to be a little crazy, right? I'm just saying, man. Y'all hold it down, man. I may potentially be back on later, but y'all hold it down, man. Salute. Appreciate everyone who tuned in today. Turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports. Dead Game Boxing on deck. I see you, Andrew Charles, on deck. Appreciate everyone for pulling up. I'm out.